Hello, my name is Mary Margaret. It's nice to see you if you are new here, and if you are not and you're returning to my channel, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Today, I just wanted to do a quick, hopefully, Friday Reads update, what I'm currently reading, and I'll just go ahead and jump into it so that I can make sure that I'm trying to keep this as short as I said I was. So I wanted to mention two books that are in my collection of books that I've had for a little while, and one of my main goals this year was to read a lot of the books on my shelf so that I could decide if I wanted to keep them or not, because I have so many, and I want to make sure my reflection, that my collection is a reflection of my tastes and the things that I actually love. And so by reading the books, I can pass them on to people who would actually enjoy having them if I don't like them, and then I can make sure I actually like them if I do decide to keep it and have that valuable real estate taken up on my bookshelf. So two of the books I'm reading right now through audiobook are books that are physically on my shelf, and this is something I've been using to help me tackle some of those intimidating, huge books that I've been wanting to read but have been too scared to read for the longest time. So the first one of these is Dune by Frank Herbert. I'm sure most of you have heard something about this in the recent past because of the movie coming out, and I did watch the movie, and this is probably controversial to say, but I didn't really care for it too much. I thought visually it was spectacular. I enjoyed the soundtrack, although I found it slightly repetitive, like the themes anyway. I thought the acting was quite good as well, but I just didn't resonate with the character development at all. It didn't feel real. It felt like we were missing a lot of information, and then on top of that, I didn't really care about the people because of that. And then I also felt like, again, just too many missing pieces for me to fully comprehend like what's going on. So it was just basically behooved me to read the book instead of just watching the movie. So I wanted to give the book a try, but I was hesitant after not enjoying the movie that much because I was afraid I wouldn't care for it, which was sad because I do tend to like science fiction plots, which is what I've heard this is categorized as. And then I've had several people recommend it to me. In fact, I own this because I was given it for my birthday years ago, and so I just wanted to give it a try. So I'm really pleased to report that I am enjoying it really well so far. In the physical copy, I'm over 100 pages into it, which is not saying that much because in this edition, there are like 800 pages, but I'm making pretty quick progress, way faster than I thought I would. The way I'm doing it is with a full cast audiobook, and you probably know, if you know me, you know I'm listening to it on more than regular speed just because I don't have patience for people reading slowly most of the time because I like to talk fast. So that's kind of just how I do it for the most part, but I have really enjoyed having a full cast audiobook, and so far I'm really intrigued. I like the world building. It's not frustrating or boring, and I enjoy it so far. I think that Jessica, the mom character, which cracks me up, the mom's name is Jessica in this science fiction universe, but I actually have some empathy for the mom in this, which I did not in the movie. I kind of just found her to be didn't like her. And then Paul, I feel like makes more sense in the book too. Like just all of them make more sense. And then I also am understanding character motivations way more because they actually explain the politics of the time and all the back plots. So I feel like once I've read this, I should rewatch the movie and see if I like it better now that I kind of have more of an understanding. But I'm glad I'm giving it a second chance. It's good so far. Very interesting, and I will say, given my prior expectations, it's actually got pretty good like representation of women in it so far. They're not that many, but they're more than I expected, and the way that they are represented is surprisingly good. So I will keep y'all posted on that. So there's that one. The other audiobook that I'm kind of rotating between, that one and this one, is The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock. This one is such a beautiful cover, and the time period where it is set, or when I should say it is set, is something that interests me a lot. If I am understanding correctly, it's like the late 1700s, maybe early 1800s, but I just find that interesting, and it takes place in like London. But my understanding was that this was somewhat magical realism, which I tend to either really like or really not like. It's like one extreme or the other. But I have not come across any magical realism yet other than there being a mermaid. And then the mermaid that I'm picturing is not the mermaid I've come across thus far. So I don't really want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it. But the start of the book, I was like, oh, this is going to be I'm going to love this book so much. But as I've continued, I've come across things that I really did not care for in the way that some of the characters are discussed and the way it's written. I enjoy the writing style, but I don't know how this one's going to play out. I'm very curious to see. But the plot of this, I also just didn't really know because I just hadn't really kind of given it much of a look. I just had heard people recommend it years ago when it was very hyped on BookTube, and now I'm finally getting to it. This one was given to me as well, so I did not purchase this one, but it's really interesting. It looks like this is written by the person who wrote The Essex Serpent, which I did not realize. And then it has a little blurb on the back from Madeline Miller, and y'all know I love Madeline Miller, so I'm gonna try to keep going, see what I think. Hopefully I enjoy it better. I don't dislike it, I'm just not like, woo, it's amazing so far. So I'll keep y'all posted on that. And then if you watched my most recent video, you'll know currently I'm reading A Book of Common Prayer by Joan Didion. I have a video all about Joan Didion, or my thoughts on Joan Didion anyway, that I can link below. And then during the month of June, I'm reading this. If you are interested in joining in a read-along, you can watch that video, also linked below, and find out more information about that. But it is basically very confusing thus far, but it's very standard Joan Didion as well. So I'm looking forward to continuing with this. It is not what I expected. Again, not going to explain the plot. I don't know what it is yet. So the next book is one that I started 2 years ago, and I'm just gonna tell y'all that because I'm sure there are some of you out there who've started something and then you forgot you started it, and then you're like, how did I forget it? Multiple times, because I did that with this book, and you will know I talked about it in one of my videos 2 years ago, which is crazy to think my channel has been around for 2 years. That's wild. But it's Emma by Jane Austen. When I'm reading this, I enjoy it. I don't have any real big problems with it or anything, and I love Jane Austen, so it's not that I have a problem with the book, but it is frustrating to me. So when I sit down to read it, I can only read it for a certain amount of time before I'm like, okay, I need a break. The characters just frustrate me, and I was talking to one of my sisters about this, that I feel like Frank Churchill is one of the most evil of Jane Austen villains. And I don't want to be spoilery, because I shouldn't have said that in the first place if you haven't read it. You may disagree completely. He may not be a villain to you. So no, that's not necessarily a spoiler. But to me, he is. I don't like him at all. As far as I'm concerned, the world would be better without him in the Emma universe. He would do better in another country. He can just go bother someone else, and maybe in the United States. I'm just kidding. But just like not here, not in this book. He shouldn't be here. I don't like him. I don't think that who he ends up with deserves to deal with his garbage. So, not a fan. So anywho, all that to say, I'm going to finish it soon. I'm very close. It is my goal to finish it before the end of June. And I'm getting to the part that's like my favorite part, the ending. And I say that not because it's going to be over, but because I love the ending of this story. So as a child, I grew up loving the Emma adaptation with Gwyneth Paltrow, hence this interesting movie edition that I got at the library as a teenager. So I'm excited to continue it, but Frank Churchill, no, I don't like you. So anywho, the other book that I'm reading right now that I forgot I was reading, this happens to me far too often, is a book by an author I've read many times before, and it is A Peculiar Combination by Ashley Weaver. This is a sort of like a mystery book, but also more focused on heist things. So the main character and her whole like adopted family, and I say adopted because I think her uncle adopts her when her parents die. I can't remember, but that's what I think happened. And they all are thieves, basically. And so she gets kind of brought into the military at some point by this guy, and he asks her to help rob this place so they can get some government papers to help them during World War II. Now, World War II is the backdrop of the book. It's not really the primary focus, which I appreciate because, as I've said before in previous videos, I feel like we have a bit of an oversaturation of World War II literature in this day and age, but it does make sense for the plot of the book, and I feel like it works, and it's not frustrating or annoying. It's not like capitalizing on World War II thus far. I like the main character. I like the main guy. It kind of makes me laugh because you know that from the minute that the main girl meets the main guy that she's like falling for him, but she keeps saying how much she hates him, and I'm like, we all know you're lying to yourself. We can all pick up on that. Like, she's just straight up in denial. So it's just funny, but very standard Ashley Weaver. You know, Murder at the Brightwell is the first book in the series that I've read of hers. That's like her other mystery series that got her famous, and I really enjoyed that one as well. Hers are just generally lighter mysteries that don't have anything super gory or dark in them. They do have some dark elements to them, but overall they're pretty frothy when it comes to a murder mystery, which is nice to me because I'm not really into super dark stuff anymore. So this one's good so far. Hoping to finish it soon. It's a fast, easy read, so when I don't forget that I have it, I can read it pretty fast. So the last two books I'm going to hold kind of weird because they're from my library, so for privacy's sake, I'm going to cover that up. But this one is called Comeuppance Served Cold. It is by Marion Deeds, is the name of the author. And it says underneath, this fierce magical heist tale is as smooth as gin and jazz. And that's really what it looks like from the cover. It's what it seems like is something that anyone would enjoy, if you're like me anyway, which is a 1920s story that's a mystery with magical elements, and it takes place in Seattle, which is a very new setting for me. And I don't really want to say anything because I was surprised about the magical element when I first started reading it, but it is a super, super short book, like very thin. So I definitely would recommend you pick it up. It's very fun to read so far. And then the other one that I'm reading is written by an author named Gita Trellis, I believe is how you say the name, and it is called Enchantée. This one is apparently the first in a series, and I did not realize that, but it takes place around the time of the French Revolution, and it tells the story of a young woman who her parents passed away because of smallpox, and so she takes upon herself the role of providing for her family because her brother basically doesn't do anything and her little sister is too young. So it sort of tells the tale of how she sort of masters certain things so that she can provide for the family. It also has magic. Somehow this year I've been reading a lot of books with magic in it, and I'm not mad about it. It's been very fun. So it is a little dark, even though it is a YA book, but the cover, first of all, is gorgeous, and second of all, I'm really enjoying it. So I've actually, like, it's the first time in a while I've been reading a book that I feel like fully immersed in. Like, I forget other things are going on around me, and I don't really want to do anything other than read when I'm reading it. And so that's a really good sign to me. It's a positive sign that it could be a 5-star read. So I will definitely keep you all posted. Those are all the books I'm going to mention. There are a few other ones I'm reading, but just for brevity's sake, I'm going to stop there, especially because those are my main focus right now. And I hope to hear from you all soon. Hope you enjoyed the video. I apologize this is scattered as usual, but what do you expect? It's my channel. We all know that's how I am. So if you're not a fan of that, I would not recommend my other videos. So I can't really help it. But I hope you're all doing well. Please comment below. Tell me what you've been reading, what you've been loving. And it could be books, it could be music, it could be TV shows, movies.